took this job with crop, I get to visit some of the farmers that I've got to know through the years, so it's really been fun and meaningful, and you know, going to a farm show and taking names and going to an organic or to a conventional farm and writing them a farm plan. Those people are so excited that, you know, it's just drove me to you know, not quit. And I've had this job for 4.5 years, so I really enjoy it. So I've got to work with Jackie one time down at Mother Earth News Fair, and we had a great time. I had a little TV and some chairs, and people sit down and they get comfortable. You know, and when they get comfortable and you're not selling them anything, it's a whole different learning experience than somebody trying to drive something out of their pocketbook. So I've had a great time. So anyway, just a little bit on the market. You know, I planned this presentation for a lot of the new farmers that signed up and come to our event, which I thought was really well. So just a little bit on the market. They're not here. I don't see one of them. They all took off and left for home, which that's fine. You're still going to show it to you. You know, here's our growth. We had a 39 million billions in sales. So we're really growing, and it's been great to be a part of that. Here's you know, some facts. You know, the USDA figures there's about 3,000 farmers in transition right now. I think they're low. You know, if you take 48 lower states and you that's only 70 people per state. You know, so I think they're really low. I think there's a lot more people coming in. You know, and I know part of my talk's on weed control, but a lot of it's on common sense, because, you know, if that many people come in, and we've already got a market that's not flooded but kind of full, you know, we got to make room for other people, because a lot of my work is helping farmers maximize yields. You know, even our membership, you know, I go to and I help them try to get 20 bushel more corn, or 3/4 of a ton more hay, or 10 bushel more beans. You know, so I fine tune their fertility programs. Weed control is probably our biggest yield getter, you know, next to fertility. So these are just facts, you know, and I always ask this question, is organic farming right for me? Because you really got to be a good manager, you know, and if you answer yes to any one of these questions, why, you know, you're interested in changing and, you know, working towards organic. You know, and what is organic? The USDA put this definition on organic, and we heard quite a bit about this today, and that's biological activity and organic matter, what organic matter feeds, and things like that. So, you know, a lot of people that I show this to that are an organic farmer said, you know, I think I've seen that once since I've been an organic farmer, and they've been organic for 15 years. You know, so I like to take and refresh their memory. Here's another slide that I got this from a university educator that, you know, says the organic farmers are destroying organic matter by, you know, taking and tearing up and doing this mixed soil tillage on the left. The picture on that left side is where we're destroying that bed of organic matter all the time, you know, and that this actually leads to more weeds coming, because we destroy things in the soil profile that make weeds grow. And I was at a biology school last year and seen some slides where they're doing some soil balancing with biology. They're testing and balancing the soil biology, and less weeds grow right away. First thing that happens. So if you're tilling too deep, you know, there's one thing that, you know, may be affecting your weed control. So, you know, all these systems we heard of today, you know, start incorporating them. I just threw one tool in that at Organic Valley, we've got a grower pool group, and one of the guys in the grower pool group that I helped get in there, he's working on a new type of tillage tool where he's planting annual cover crops and then coming in with this straight vertical tillage and then a mix. It's got some shanks behind it. I didn't even put the picture of that on. I'm just, you know, showing you some things that guys are doing to get back to not tilling so deep and chopping cover crop in there, cutting it up small enough so that it doesn't interfere with our weed control with your tine weeder, rotary hoe, and cultivator. So, you know, planting, you know, these are just a few of the things that it takes to plant organics. All right, planting techniques, you know, raise seed population, use a starter fertilizer or soil amendments of some sort to get that seed off to a quick start. And, you know, a lot of times I'll put some nitrogen in my row off to the side and put a biological on so that when I cultivate and shock that crop with my steel, doing weed control, I've got something there to help that plant recover quicker. And that's really been a really, really good thing for me. I have had some pretty nice crops. Weed control, you know, a couple of times back through the years, was one of the best learning curves I had was, you know, 10 days of rain in the forecast and you get 2 nice days to put your crop in. So we moldboard plowed, and that was the year we bought this tool. Actually, this was 2000. You know, we moldboard plowed, and that field, particular farm, had a cover crop on it in '88, and it was cover cropped almost every year, and this was in 2013. So we moldboard plowed, and then the ground just fell apart off that plow, and we went through with a harrow and planted, and we didn't have no weeds. We cultivated one time and it was done. So that, you know, what's that tell me? That tells me the more I work that ground, the more weeds I got coming. So, you know, I've been fortunate enough to make a lot of events and see a lot of people that, you know, have done soil biology, and that all keeps making more sense to me, that slide where we're mixing up that whole soil base, and that's costing us weed control. We're forcing them weeds to grow because we've opened up and we've disrupted what naturally takes and keeps them at bay. You know, there's always going to be weeds. I don't care if you dig a hole 10 feet deep, put some on top of the ground, spread it out, you get a rain on it, weeds are going to grow in it. So anyway, this is actually my tillage tool and a weed controller. I got some really good slides here. Okay, so this is called a flexible tine harrow. It's made in Urbana, Illinois, and I bought this in 2000, and it's been my unit of choice for white root hair disruption. And I run over this, most of my fields twice with this unit. I go in like 3 days and then 7 days. So, you know, the flexible tine harrow on the left side of the screen, that was done just at spike, because after we planted we got a little bit of rain, so I didn't get a chance to go out there. But I took that flexible tine harrow, which scratches about 1 inch deep, and it really does a good job on white root disruption. And you know, I put that thing all the way down, and it scratches about 1 inch of soil. And so when it scratches 1 inch of soil, and then we didn't get no rain for about 2 weeks, that was all the weed pressure I had in that field, really minimal. And so I was really happy. On the right hand side of this is rotary hoeing this corn, and it's actually pretty big. So that was a close-up. So this was a different field that I flex tine harrowed at 2-leaf. I used that harrow, and you know, it seems like it's aggressive, but actually, you know, I just had really good control, weed control, because I'm going to have corn that's 2.5, 3 inches tall with no weeds. So my corn's going to get way ahead of that. So that's what this unit looks like. You see them around. Actually, they're maybe a little more popular in southern Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. There's a lot of them because that's kind of the line he lives on. But you know, I've had great luck with this, and now you're seeing them at sales, guys are buying them for, you know, $2,000 range. So they're not overly expensive because a lot of this equipment's just totally, you know, too expensive. So then the same picture, I rotary hoe this corn when it's that big. There's just a real close up because I've got guys that, you know, won't rotary hoe corn once it gets 2.5, 3 inches tall. They quit. Well, you know, I've always been, you know, one to try everything because I need to know if I'm going to be helping farmers through my business is where I really learned this. You know, my old farmers that went organic because they remembered when their dad did it, and they said, well, I can do that because I've got a pretty tight rotation. So they said, we always went out and rotary hoed corn and it was 6 inches tall, 7 inches tall. So, you know, I started doing that quite a while ago because what it does is, this is that same field that I showed you where the flexible tine harrow was. And so my weeds are only about 1.5 inches. So if I go through and rotary hoe and then I cultivate, I get a lot better weed control than when I go and I take and wait till the weeds get too big. And another reason we really got on it this year is because the forecast was 3 more nice days. So we had 3 days to cultivate all our crops before it was going to rain for the next 12. You know, so right there's critical time, and not getting caught with weedy crops at critical time is just, you know, it's priceless. So there's a side view of how big that corn is, and you know, I don't think I took less than 1,000 stand out of that rotary hoeing. Now I didn't have the hoe full down. You know, I had that rotary hoe at that hinge point has that spring on it. You know, so I bumped that up with my 3-point adjustment just a little bit to take some pressure off. So there's still good spring on there, but I get to work that soil. So I'm going to back up just one right there on the right-hand side. This farm's had, you know, I get so many guys that I go to and they say, boy, I just can't fit a cover crop in. Well, this farm I started running in '98. It was a guy that kind of watched me farm my home farm, and I was really successful. I brought in kids to pull the weeds from the first year I was organic, so I don't have a lot of weed pressure, so that makes a big difference. But he, when he retired, he drove right to my farm and said, you know, I want you to rent my farm because I don't want no chemicals on it. Because he was a band sprayer and he only sprayed just a little band, so I was ahead of the curve, not going into a full conventional farm. But we just, you know, for one pass with a unit on that flexible tine harrow side, I don't have a lot of weeds. So, you know, just incentive to, and just talking with Doug and Sharon, they hire weed pullers to come and pull their weeds, you know, so I got a slide on that. It makes pretty good sense. All right, so here's a tine weeder. These are really coming in. I was at several field days with these, and they work really well in edible beans. They can be a little tough on corn. How many guys got tine weeders that use them? All right, you bet. I don't have one yet. I'm gonna take and when I build a new shed, I'll have room for one, then I'm gonna buy one. So I'll be looking for you guys for some advice. Here's one up in Michigan. I was at a field day up in the Thumb, and we used to have a lot of members up in Michigan. We had a big following. There was a couple chapters up there. Those guys were a lot of fun. So I've seen a couple of them and told them to get back with OCIA. I don't know if they'll listen or not, but I'll get back there. I'll hit them up again without a doubt. But these guys are using them on their edible beans, and that field day was really good. They planted a bunch of different timings for this field day, so we got to see, you know, how big they were when the tine weeder didn't work. You know, so that's a big part of learning too. You know, seeing when it's not only when it's the best, but when it doesn't work. So this picture got a little bit out of adjustment. I was messing around with them today. But anyway, what this shows is we use a no-till cultivator because we do a full amount of cover crop. So that means You know, we can plug occasionally, but once we got these no-till cultivators in 2000, I think we got one in 99 and one in 2000, so we've had them a long time. So we've got them adjusted to the point where, you know, we can cultivate all of our crops and very rarely have any type of plug up. And you know, what they've got is on the bottom left there, them two coulters that pull soil away. And when it pulls that soil away, when you take and push it back in, that dirt tumbles into that little pull away spot, and it doesn't have so much, it isn't so aggressive, and it rolls into the corn a lot easier. So you get just about 100% control when corn's that small. That's pretty tough to get, you know, completely clean corn at that stage. So, you know, we've had good luck with these, and you know, my son and I, we each got one, and we got two of everything, so it doesn't take us so long. And we've learned to use these, and they've been great. Has anybody else got no-tills, cultivators? Yeah? Yeah? No?
Danish tine.
Oh, Danish tine, sure. Yeah, I've got a Danish tine on my Organic Valley display table. It's like a Danish tine, but it's got a plate on it. Actually, I think I might have some pictures on this one. I'm not sure if I got them on here or not. So I had several pictures of, this was just last year's crop too, through the rain. You know, we had 20 inches of rain on all them fields that I just showed you of what we went through. So I had a great stand of corn, even though we had all that 20-some inches of rain. The only thing I lost was a little bit of color, because with that much rain, I had about, with my cover crop and fertility, I had about 200 units of nitrogen on, but I lost at least 40, I'm thinking, just because of 20-some inches of rain in 3.5 weeks. Why, you know, it's going to leach and it's pellet and poultry litter, so the ammonia, you know, is going to get away on you. But those no-till cultivators, even in this tall corn, they just absolutely don't plug. They just run through it.